This is Clem with Clem's Organic Gardens in Brevard, North Carolina. Today is June 3rd, 2017, and this is part 2 of me showing my experiment with planting winter squash into a rolled cover crop. So this is the same field that I rolled down. It was the rye and crimson clover on one side and the oats and crimson clover on the other side. This is 2.5 weeks later. It has been covered with a tarp. We just took the tarps off yesterday. The tarps are going to these, the black, you see some fields over there covered with them. It's what I usually call landscape fabric, or it's a woven ground cover. It's a woven black plastic that is permeable to water and air. So yeah, I mean, so this has been killed just fine. And the rye looks pretty good. I'm kind of nervous about this. There's not a real thick layer there. And there's a few things coming up, I'm sure, in the next few days. Some things that didn't die. And I've found that those tarps do not kill, like the plantain here. But I'll just have to deal with that. I don't really see any annual weeds down in there. We were fortunate, we got a bunch of rain right after we put the tarps on. And that just germinated weeds all over the farm. And then we had warmer weather, some sunny weather to warm it up a bit. So that's the rye. The oats and clover are not looking as good. I mean, they died, as you can tell. But there's really not much of a layer here, hardly at all. There's a lot of exposed ground. I am planning, I think I'm gonna go ahead and disc this side up and try to incorporate it as much as I can and get the field prepped, and then just plant the squash bare ground on this side, because it just seems like that would asking for trouble there, planting no-till into that. Because the problem is, if I plant it in that, I can't cultivate it. And just the next field over, I planted the winter squash here already, and this is coming up, and it's pretty easy to cultivate that with a tractor. I've been through once, and I'll go through again today, hopefully. The white stuff is surround kaolin clay that I put on there. It's an insect repellent that sprays on for try to keep the cucumber beetles off while those plants are young. So hopefully this side of this field will look kind of like that. And then over here you can kind of see I went through to kind of slice some slits down the middle. And I did that with this. I just have this old 2-row cultivator. It has this coulter in the middle that I put on, and that works just fine. It works pretty well. I tried earlier, actually, so this bed here, actually before we put the tarps on, I tried going through with a subsoiler to try to kind of put a slit down the middle, just so the squash, when it goes in, has, it has some soil to put its roots down into. And it was kind of a disaster. It was just pulling up chunks of roots of stuff and exposing a lot of soil, and that will probably have to get some extra attention for weeding. So yeah, I tried just a slit thing. I'm going to go through with another implement that may or may not work to open that furrow just a little bit. Like if it all looked like that would be perfect, I think. Just like 6-inch wide band. But we'll see if that works. If it doesn't, I'll just leave the slit, and then I'm going to drop a layer, just a band of compost on top. I've been doing that with most of my crops. I did that with the winter squash over there. And I will probably show that in another video. I use this manure spreader, which I have rigged up, which is currently in for repairs. I'll show it real briefly. But I put these, I attach this thing to the back of it that I can just drop. The compost just falls through the slots there, and it's set up for my normal row spacing, so I can do 3 rows, or I can I just put more pieces of plywood to cover up the slots, and I can do 1 row or 2 rows depending on what I'm growing. One quick little note: that slicer coulter implement, look, there's a big wildlife sighting here. This is just extra footage. Got a big toad. You need to get out of there. You're gonna get squished. So this section, there's a section down here where the rye lodged before I rolled it down. I don't know how easy it is to see. Lodged meaning it fell over, which tends to happen when it gets tall and it rains and then gets windy. And it kind of fell over sideways across the beds. So that's not great. Just like kind of for the mechanics of doing all this stuff. But that coulter did seem to do a pretty good job of slicing it. You can see this is where the slice is in it. And it, you know, cut most of it. I had to go through a little bit of it and cut it with a knife, which obviously is not ideal, but we'll see if that screws things up or not. But I'll video the next step when I get there.